I want to win the UEFA Champions League, but I only have 10 seasons. I have to start from scratch, with 0 coaching badges, with 0 playing experience. Just me and a dream. You already know what kind of a grind I am signing up for, so let's just go at it. Welcome to the Football Manager Speedrun. This is me, the in-game me. I know very little about managing a club, even though I have the papers proving my basic scouting knowledge. And these are the 11 countries I can go to. I'm either starting somewhere close or in the top countries ladder. I'm not going to Macedonia's 3rd division, it's pretty obvious. But what you have also noticed, I'm not managing a club. And that's not helpful in our mission to speedrun the game. So you might have guessed it. Our first job in this challenge is to find a job. Let's see what offers are available. There is no way we're going to go to any of the teams you can see on the screen right now. We're not going to the top Czech division, we're not going to the championship, we're not going to Belgium. And I can even apply to one of those to just show you that there is absolutely 0 chance of going there. And in case you're wondering, Sigma Olomouc was 2 Sigma for my chances. So we have to go a little bit lower. I'm talking like the 2nd Slovak League, the 3rd Polish division, even the Serie C or something, to have any chance of securing our first job. We have to be very careful with what we're choosing. We can't go too low. For example, 3rd Slovak or Czech division might be a bit too low. We have to aim a little bit higher. So I'll apply to a couple of those clubs first and try to make sure I actually land a job anywhere. Unfortunately, the 2nd tier of Poland is still a bit too high for me. But Myjava from the 3rd tier of Slovakia did offer us an interview, which was fairly simple. They just gave me the vision to be competitive and accepted my request for a coaching course. And this is vital. Just like in real life, you have to complete coaching courses to land better jobs. The highest coaching license in Football Manager is a Continental Pro license, which will give us a chance to manage in the Premier League or La Liga in the future. And to maximize our chances of winning the Champions League within 10 seasons, we have to go through the courses as fast as possible. I also decided to apply to work for clubs in England, Italy or Belgium. Results varied. Thanks, N'Golo. Some clubs in the 6th tier of England wanted to talk, but only Warrington Town was happy to offer me a coaching course. Honestly, this was the only criteria. Just fund my course and I'll join, which Myjava thought about and offered me a job. But I'm still looking for options somewhere higher, so I delayed the decision. Weymouth was next, but they didn't want to give me the coaching course, so I rejected their offer. Similar fate met Altamura in Italy's Serie C and Olympique Charleroi in Belgium's 3rd tier. I delayed their offers in case I had no other option, just like Myjava's 2nd approach. But that's the last delay the board in Slovakia will agree to. This is the in-game limit. Next week, we'll have to make a decision. The decision to take charge of Warrington Town. That's mainly because I'll get the chance to prove myself just on the outskirts of top-level football, and also an opportunity for quick education with a coaching course. Will I be able to take the relegation candidate away from the drop, or will this be a short-lived adventure on Unis compliant stadium? Well, I guess it's time to find out. Warrington is the birthplace of plenty of people you may have heard of. I'm talking Jesse Lingard, Luke Littler, or Rick Astley. Congratulations, you've been rickrolled in this video. You did not see that coming. In real life, in the most recent season, Warrington was relegated from the Vanarama National League North, which is the 6th tier of English football. But in the game, we have a chance to change that. The board only wants us to avoid such fate. But my goal was different. I want to get this club promoted, which will help me find a job in a better division. Unfortunately, this isn't what I should say to the players. Therefore, they don't know. But now, let's see the conditions we arrived into. Well, it's not looking good when one of our stars is 41 years old. That man is Peter Clark, and he will lead our backline this season. Up front, we have Devon Green, our best player, and also Matty MacDonald, a 20-year-old who's the most talented. They are the men who may lead us to our first success, the promotion. So now, let's set the team up. I decided to go with a direct 4-3-3, hoping to catch counters and scratch those all-important wins. But right after setting up the formation, problems arose. We only have 17 players available. It's too small considering an intense schedule coming up, and we need to bring on reinforcements if we want to even think about going up. But there's no scouts who could find those reinforcements. That's why I first filled our staff, and then took care of the players. I invited some of the free agents for trials, and accepted the invitation for an exit trial game. That game finished with a 3-3 draw, and the player I took notes on in particular was Ryan Cassidy. He didn't want to join, but some other players did. Some of the trialists became permanent players, notably Joe Tate at centre back and the striker Harrison Poulter. The 2 new signings changed our preseason prediction to 18th, which is definitely an okay sign before our debut against Peterborough Spurs. Peterborough is looking like they're going with a counter, steal, a goal to an empty net. It's offside at least. He finds Buckley Ricketts, Woods with a goal. I'm afraid it's offside as well. It's not, and we're taking the lead over Peterborough Sports. Throw in for us, and this time it's Declan Walker passing it to Woods, and it's a penalty! Jay Harris is stepping up, our defensive midfielder, and he scores! That's 2-0! Comes back to Kay, Howard finds Woods, Woods hit the post, he was offside anyway. And that marks our successful debut. We've won 2-0 over Peterborough Sports, and that's exactly the debut we wanted. This win started a good run of form for us in the league. Okay, we lost against Buxton, but other than that, we picked up some valuable wins. With them, we climbed to 8th in the standings early on, just outside the playoff zone. But this was just a good start to a disaster. We suddenly started losing a bunch of games and dropped down the standings. It didn't help that we got demolished 5-1 by Kidderminster Harriers in the FA Cup qualifiers. This game exposed our biggest weakness. Our midfield was completely overrun. Direct passing doesn't help, as well as the defense being way too slow. So I made a switch, introducing a flat 4 and a narrow attack. The goal here is to make sure the attackers work together closely and the defense doesn't carry itself away in the attacks. Peter Clark, due to lack of pace, was also benched. This tactic later evolved to just feature 3 strikers, and the results were somewhat better at least. By Christmas, we became a stable mid-table side, sitting in 14th. Right now, relegation is as unlikely as promotion, but we still had some memorable moments on the way, such as a late comeback against Oxford City with a 92nd minute equalizer, a successful revenge on Kidderminster Harriers, or a 6-2 demolition of South Shields. We also advanced to the FA Trophy's 4th round, FA Cup for anyone from Tier 5 and below for those asking what it is. Firstly, Celtic were our opponents there, and we first had Devon Green score from a mess, and Josh Amis blasting a spectacular long shot. With that, we won 2-0. Just kidding, first they somehow managed to equalize and bring it to extra time. In the first half of that extra time, we missed this. And we must be extremely thankful that Isaac Buckley Ricketts found the net in the second part, allowing us to win this insane match. I think the best way to thank Isaac for that goal is us all subscribing to this channel, which I also be very grateful for. After this win, we've had a couple of matches postponed in January, and that's the moment that let a realization hit me. I could have loaned some players from higher leagues basically for free. So I quickly got to action. I loaned in Anton Dudik, Samba Badjiana, Max Martin, not the music producer, Ben Casey, or Jack Griffiths, who got heavily injured very quickly, or Finn Delap from Burton Albion. We also let Jay Harris go to Ashton United. Despite the fact we only used 1 or 2 loanees, we had a flawless January, which helped us go up to 12th place, on the outskirts of a playoff fight. Unfortunately, we did not have such luck against Spennymoor Town in the FA Trophy. We lost 3-0, but I'm not surprised if we're missing chances like this.
Skip it up and down up.
Thankfully, this was a one-off. We were winning the majority of our games. Kingston Town, Farsley Celtic and Darlington were all wins. Scunthorpe was also looking like a huge victory, as we had the perfect start against the Irons. He finds across to Josh Amis. Amis hits the post, but Devon Green gets the rebound. Recycled to us, but we quickly lose it, we quickly win it back though. Buckley Ricketts on the left has been fouled, and it's a penalty for us. Declan Walker, who converts it. Makes a pass to Morris, good one to Law. And that's a, I want to say, consolation goal. Finds Scales, Spartak, and I'm afraid we are going to lose the lead within 3 minutes, because we do! Spartak being let go free, and White thankfully wins it. Quickly The ball goes back to Scanfurp, and Bryn Morris with a long shot. Beeston. Low shot, and this game is over. We were doing so well in the first half. Kowogun, Shrimpton, and Law has been found, and Law scores the 5th, but it's offside. Scanfurp is going for the real 5th goal here, and they do. Absolute shambles, really. That's all I have to say. With Kidderminster being yet another loss, we are placed 9 points behind promotion playoffs. With 10 games to go, there is still a chance we can still get promoted. And in the very moment I said it, we forgot how to play football. We lost to Oxford City and Alfreton Town, and got a draw against Chorley. Thankfully, we then were back in form, with wins over Marine, Southport, Brackley Town, or Curtin Ashton. We had a quite strong finish to the season, but it wasn't enough. We never really were in a promotion race. We finished 12th, perfectly in the mid-table. Even though we failed to reach our goal, this was still well above media expectations. And also, I secured a National B coaching license before the season rounded up. This gave me a strong card when negotiating with some other teams. Why am I telling you this? Because I'm looking at my clock, and it tells me there are 9 seasons left in this challenge to win the Champions League. So I have to move on. We finished our National League North season in late April, and this means we don't have too many teams we can go to. Most interesting offers we can probably take are the ones from Trenčín in Slovakia's top flight, Příbram in Czechia's 2nd division, Lokeren in Belgium's 2nd tier, or some teams in League 2. Naturally, I applied to all of those jobs, but the teams collectively decided to reject my application. However, I kept being stubborn and kept applying. If there was a job listing available, you know I would take a chance. To the point where the media started to pick up interest. But that didn't matter. More and more teams kept rejecting me. And when Aldershot Town, who just stayed up in the National League, declined my application, I started to lose hope. So I decided to pull a very risky move. I decided to resign from Warrington Town. I thought that because I have a job, some clubs might simply not be interested, and me being a free agent would make me a hotter prospect. It didn't help at all. So what? Am I just going to sit out the start of the season and wait for Sacktober? Okay, this is massive. We finally got an interview somewhere, and it's actually in my preferred destination. That's the 2nd Slovak league, and Spartak Myjava offered us a chance to even have a chance of getting the job. Spartak had some problems about my management and didn't want to fund me a coaching course, but their vision of being an established 2nd division side in Slovakia is perfect for me. We're just outside the top flight, and just getting there will help make massive progress en route to the Champions League. Pisek from Czechia's 3rd tier also gave me an interview, but they weren't my preferred option, especially after considering the fact that Spartak Myjava found me as the best option, and I straight up accepted the offer. Myjava is a town in western Slovakia, located around 40 minutes away from Trenčín and also 40 minutes away from Skalica. That's great news, because these two towns both have a team in the top flight and can watch our performance closely in case their season goes wrong. Speaking of the top flight, if we want to get a lot closer to our goal of winning the Champions League, we need an accolade. And that accolade is a promotion. But just like in Warrington Town, we don't have much money to play with. This probably explains why we're only expected to finish mid-table in the 2nd tier. But there's some good news. We have a bunch of talented youngsters in the squad. Most notably a goalkeeper Stanislav Luptak, or fullbacks Luboš Vencel and Matej Lukacs. But we also have much needed experience. Examples being centre-back Robert Stefanek or midfielder Frederick Bilowski. I made a 4-2-3-1 tactic, which is plain and simple. Pass it short and press high. And now, it's time for more good news. We don't have to worry about the size of our backroom staff, so we can focus on the important matters, such as the transfers. Or actually, 2 free loans of Samuel Zawadzki from Košice and Gabriel Demian from Dukla Bańska Bystrica. With them, we still were 8th in the season preview before our debut game against Slovan Bratislava B. What did you think, that the best team in Slovakia got relegated? Loses possession to Orszula unfortunately, and looks like a counter for Slovan Bratislava. Gabriš is in the area, drives to the byline, and Orszula starts this season. Artur Gajdoš, back to Marcelli. Boledovic is in the area. Somehow he's won a penalty. But looks like this is a disaster of a start to the season. Orszula misses! Wow! Buledovic back to Gajdosz, and it looks like this time the Slovan players will be a bit more prolific. Cross, bad edge with a goal. Currently it's just consolation. He finds Wojtowicz on the right. Wojtowicz with a cross to Prachar, and the tall striker with a second goal for us. As a consolation, Miszovic makes a cross to Urszula, and Slovan is indeed leading 3-2. Pilowski. Castellano, who makes a cross to Zawadzki, and this time Zawadzki scores. Marcelli. He makes a deflected cross, and Leoni from Košice goes to the byline. Makes a pass to Demian. Demian is in the area. He hits the post. Castellano with a goal, and we've equalized again. As this is a highlight in the 90th minute. Pilowski to Castellano. Back to Pilowski. Demian. He makes a pass to Wojtowicz, who's been fouled! 90th minute, and we can win in our debut. It's number 10 who's stepping up. I believe it's going to be Pilowski, who scores 5-3 in the final minutes of this game. What a piece of art this game was. And also a brilliant start to the season. Unfortunately, against Dukla Bańska Bystrica at home, who actually got relegated, we lost after a late free kick. After this game, I confirmed a loan of Viktor Tatar and a free transfer of Christian Lukacic. And guess what? We actually had a great start to the league season. The loss against Dukla was the only one at the start of the campaign. We had some more massive wins, such as 4-1 against Partizan Bardejov, 2-1 against Žilina's B team, or 6-1 over Pochronie, the team that rejected us before this season. We were sitting in second place 9 games in, 3 points behind Shamorin, who are our direct opponents in our 10th game. A win here will do us a huge favor in the battle for promotion. Zawadzki to Demian. And we lose possession. Diallo is on the 1v1. That was an absolute shambles. Zawadzki makes a cross to Prachar. Prachar equalizes despite the yellow card. And it looks like it's Shamorin's highlight. Diallo finds Szolgaj. We've gone way too high. Pavuk now is in the area. Left alone. Makes a pass to Greszak, penalty! Hopefully Barat saves it, but we'll see about that. Diallo has a chance for a brace, and he scores that brace. And there's a free kick for Shamorin. He tried to clear the ball, but Farner with a chance to make a cross again. Pavuk with a volley! That was a spectacular goal. This is something I must admit. Finds Kacala, he gets that ball to Tatar. Tatar is on the wing. Prachar with a goal that gives us hope. Shamorin probably verified our promotion ambitions. But thankfully, this was just a little speed bump. Just like a loss to Serec. But other than that, we just kept winning. In the middle point of the season, we were still second in the league. 5 points behind Shamorin. We were running away from the rest of the league. Just like Shamorin is running away from us. Until they stopped. Shamorin was going invincible at the start of the season. But in November, they started to slip up. They lost 1-0 against Tatran Prešov, Petržalka, and Humenne, and we were almost flawless. 21 games in, we finally took the lead of the standings. But getting to the top is one thing, to stay there is another. Thankfully, we kept our winning streak, with wins over Liptovski Mikuláš, Stara Lubovnia, Pochronie, and Žilina's B team. This extended our lead to 5 points over Shamorin. The direct encounter against them will determine our chances in this promotion race. Banczak with the ball to Lukacic. I think Castellano is a bit too out wide, but he gets the ball now, the Spaniard. We get it to Zawadzki. Zawadzki with a header. Samuel, what a goal! We just entered a highway to the league title and a promotion to the top flight. We just cannot stop there. And so, we won 5-3 over Poważska Bystrica and got a 3-2 win over Slavoj Trebišov. Shamorin didn't do so well, letting Pochronie come back late to a 3-3 draw. And with that, before our game against Petržalka, we learned that we won the second Slovak league. It is our first major accolade of this challenge, and we're going to manage a club in the top flight. We received a guard of honor from Petržalka, and then we won the game 4-2, after which we lifted our first trophy above our heads. We then won against Tatran Prešov and lost to Serec, thus confirming our title with 12 points of advantage over Shamorin. But now there is 8 seasons left to win the Champions League. During our second season, I bagged a National A coaching license, and the board sent me on another course, this time to claim the Continental C license. Adding on not too many offers from any of the top flights or anywhere close to them, I have decided the best course of action is to stay. I've actually made that decision right after I joined Spartak. I knew that as long as we get promoted, I will not actively escape for a better club, at least for now. We'll make a deeper dive into the situation after we secure the coaching badge. For now, it's time to prepare for our first season in the top division. We've been given just over 100,000 euros to spend on transfers. Adding on a couple of releases, which includes our centre-back Robert Stefanek, who got frustrated after I didn't let him go to Michalovce last summer, this means we will mainly rely on and free agents. We don't want to start with like half of the team being available, so our spending spree started with a youth intake. To be exact, a centre-back Tomasz Halabrin and someone already available for the first team, an attacking midfielder Miroslav Michalik. We then looked outside of Myjava and found plenty of free agents. First up, a midfielder Mario Holly, but he will be mainly a squad or French player, unlike a Colombian Sebastian Gomez. We also made Gabriel Demian a permanent player. On the wings, we brought in Sheriff Dine Mama from Benin, he only joined in August, and Jakub Kusal, a Czechman from Skalica. The backline also got numerous additions. Samuel Kuc from Tatran Prešov, a loan of Peter Borbeli from Michalovce, Musa Ramatan from Vyškov in Czechia, and Matusz Katuński, who last played in Tatran Prešov. The only goal this season, given by the board, is to try to avoid relegation. Not avoid, try to avoid. So we pretty much have nothing to lose. And I understood them the second I looked at the season preview. This is basically the 2016 Leicester City-ish chance of staying up. It's that low. And Dunajska Streda, our first opponents in the top flight, were ready to show our place in the pecking order. Long ball is being sent to Balog, and Balog makes a cross to Dublievich, and our start is not good. Hertz is on the right side now, and the Dunajska Streda players are in our penalty area, and they're about to score the second. Galvez, long shot, Borisenko. And we try to win it, but Borisenko is on the left wing and will be looking for that final cross of the match. And Ramadan scores the third, and pretty much this finishes our disaster of a start to the season. At least, thankfully, we still showed we can fight. Our first 2 points of the season came from 2 all draws against Žilina and Komarno. But these are not the results that will help us climb the table. So, I signed a free agent Martin Boda to become our new striker. He didn't help too much though. All our losses were narrow ones. We lost to Trenčín, Spartak Trnava and Košice. With only 2 points, we dropped down to 11th place and will probably fight against relegation with Michalovce. To avoid this disaster of a fate, I had to make 2 more loans. Matej Svec from Spartak Trnava at right back and Martin Mišović on the left wing from Slovan Bratislava. But with a 4-1 loss to Podbrezova, I started to think I might regret my decision to stay in Myjava. To the point I started looking at jobs that were insecure or available. To be fair, going to the second Bundesliga will give us a much bigger chance of completing our main goal than fighting against a drop in Slovakia. But we still have to wait until our coaching course is completed, which happened on September 18th, a day after we finally won a football match against MŠK Testa Stropkov from the 3rd tier in the cup. But that doesn't help much in our league situation. We were scoring goals, but we were also conceding goals, quite a lot of them. In the game against Slovan Bratislava, I decided to switch our tactic to a 4-3-3 with a holding midfielder, to at least balance things out. The team from the capital had Danilo Ignatenko on the right wingback, who assisted Sahar Kizan, and he gave Slovan the lead. That was the only goal in that match, leading to yet another loss. We had to wait 9 games for our first league win. It took Samuel Prahar's brace and Mama's header to win over Zlate Moravce. Samuel Prahar showed he's in good form with a goal against Michalovce, and Christian Urban added 2 more penalties. Zemplin's David Leal Costa missed his own penalty, and thanks to that, we won our second game in a row. After a loss to Różą Berok, we finished the first round of games on 11th place, far away from Michalovce in last at least. To make sure our rise of form wasn't temporary, I signed yet another free agent, Filip Liche. But maybe it's time to move on. The very first offer that showed up was from Morecambe in League 2, but going to the 4th tier of the English game looks like to be a step back. Also, what is Ruben Amorim doing at Middlesbrough? He got sacked shortly after anyway. The first offer I found somewhat interesting is the one from Jagiellonia Białystok in Poland, who are playing well below expectations, but they're not a team I would force a move to. However, there's also a slot at Derby County, struggling in the championship, and that is a bit more interesting move. I still decided to react to both listings, just like to a listing of Getafe. They are the favorites to get promoted from the Spanish 2nd division, but instead, they're barely in the mid-table. Stoke City, rock bottom in the championship, were another team I applied to. At rock bottom were also Warrington in the Netherlands, and I rounded up my October search with OH Leuven in Belgium. They're paying the price for playing in Europe by struggling in the league. Out of the 5 teams I sent my CV to, which one would be your preferred option? Let me know in the comments below. As it turns out, Jagiellonia and Derby both said no, and both cited my lack of experience in avoiding relegation. I mean, I got literally promoted in the most recent season, are you serious? At least, Getafe complimented me before also rejecting my offer. Just like Stoke City, Warrington and Leuven. So it looks like we're staying in Slovakia for now. At that time, let me just grab a coach. Not even that? Well, I guess I'll just focus on football while looking for jobs in the top leagues. Elche in Portugal also said no, by the way. Our 100th game in management turned out to be against Girona, but we lost it 2-1. But that loss didn't stop us from improving. In December, we won over Komarno in the league and Puchov in the cup. We also got a draw against Dunajska Streda and lost to Trenčín. During that month, both Košice and Žilina offered me an interview. But moving to either of those teams wouldn't take me any closer to the big goal of this challenge. So this time, it was me who said no. I'm targeting a job in the top 8 league, or Motor Lublin in Poland. The team, owned by a local billionaire Zbigniew Jakubas, is severely overachieving in the Polish Ekstraklasa and is fighting for Europe. Going there would turn our season around. From fighting against relegation, we would challenge for a massive podium finish, but I obviously was rejected. And Granada in Spain did the same, and it took them 2 hours. Unfortunately, the results at Myjava also took a hit. We lost 4-2 to Košice and barely got a draw against Spartak Trnava. The latter also demolished us 5-1 in the cup quarter-final. At that time, I also got the chance to get interviewed by NAC Breda in the Netherlands. I genuinely thought this was my chance to go from Slovakia to a much better league, but as you might have guessed, they rejected me despite even offering a coaching course. So, looks like we're seeing out the season in Myjava. We lost heavily to Slovan Bratislava and Ružomberok, and then suffered a narrow defeat to Zlaté Moravce. The only win before the end of the regular season was against Michalovce. The Ružomberok game was a debut game for Karol Tott, a 15-year-old who just joined for the youth intake and already looks insane for this level. But he did not score in his debut, unlike Daniel Zachariasz, who joined from the youth intake in our Build a Nation save with SFC Opawa. Full movie from that adventure is available on the top right, but make sure to watch it only after this one. After the regular season, the league splits into 2 groups of 6. The teams play each other once more. Would be twice, but there's an error in the database update I've downloaded. Anyways, we're 10th and quite far away from a relegation battle. We started the relegation group with a match against Košice, which we lost 1-0, and we also suffered a 2-1 defeat to Zlaté Moravce. Thankfully, we also demolished Komarno and got draws against Michalovce and Žilina. This helped us ensure survival. 4 points ahead of Zemplin and 7 in front of Komarno, who ultimately went down. I considered the season as a success after all, and kind of proving the media wrong. They thought we would go straight back down, but we stayed afloat and did so quite comfortably. But I must admit, I wasn't really focused on Myjava's results at that time. In the top leagues, the seasons have just rounded up, and this means clubs started to look for new managers. So I naturally kept applying to anything mildly interesting. Because guess what is the goal of this video? The goal is to win the UEFA Champions League in 10 seasons, and there's only 7 seasons left. We have to move away from Slovakia to get any closer to that goal. And no, a transfer budget of 600k does not convince me at all. Needless to say, I just kept getting rejected. In all jobs I applied to, as well as the course. Did I just get stuck in a dead end? And is this challenge taking a terrible turn?